Guys, what I'm about to tell you is so crazy and so unbelievable that the only way I could ever possibly prove this to you is if I documented this. So here it goes. Let me start from the beginning. If you guys have been following me on Twitter, or you're in Discord servers with me, or anything, you would know that within the last 8-9 months or so, I've developed maybe, I don't know, some would call it an obsession. I don't think it's that bad. But anyway, I've become a fan of a little show called The Owl House, and it's got me thinking, if I was there, if I was on The Owl House, if I was trapped in the boiling aisles, what would I want to learn? Like, what magic, what track would I want to join? What magic would I want to learn? I thought, because there's 9 choices, but that's still so many. And I thought, you know what? Because I really had to think about it. I'm like, I could be in the plant track, because Willow, what she's able to do with those vines and those plants is incredible. Or maybe abominations like Amity, and just have these giant purple muddy monsters to just do all the fighting for me, because I'm notoriously lazy. And then I thought maybe illusions like Gus, and because that just seems so cool. I've always loved like stage magic, like Penn and Teller, but no. I thought long and hard about this, and you know what? I think that Miss Luce Nocetta was onto everything from the start. I think that glyph magic is the way to go. And you want to know why I am so passionate about this? Because glyph magic is real. Yes, you heard me. You heard me right here. Those words that came out of my mouth, you just heard them. Glyph magic is real, and I'm going to prove it right now. Now, I'm like you. I thought, this is crazy, Jake. Glyph magic isn't real. Oh, that's what I thought. But I was on a walk just a few days ago through the park, just minding my own business, when I saw something out of the corner of my eye, and I looked closely. I looked closely into the sun, which I know a lot of people say not to do, and yes, it did hurt my eyes quite a bit, but I saw something unbelievable. I saw this pattern. I don't know what it means, but look at it. It's clearly a glyph. Glyph magic is real. I couldn't believe it. I, honest to God, could not believe it. I had to go up to people on the streets and be like, do you see that in the sky? And all they said was, get the hell away from my baby. But you know what? No. I know I'm not crazy. I'm not Bergmite. I am a rational human being, and I know that glyph magic is real. And to prove it, we are going to test it right now. Oh my god, I can barely keep it together. Okay. Folks, this is going to change the entire way you see the world. Ah! Did it work? Did it... What the... Huh. Probably shouldn't have just made the one glyph. Probably should have made more. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Left Behind. Now, before we get started, I just want to clarify that the cold open, what you just saw, was not real. I am not trapped in a realm where I've turned into a two-dimensional being. I am totally fine. Everything you saw in that cold open was 100% false. With, of course, the exception of my undying love for the Owl House and everything that Dana Terrace has brought to the screen at Disney. But as much as I'd love to go into more detail about my new favorite show, we are here today to talk about my actual show, Abandoned. It's been a long time since I've made a Left Behind video. In fact, the last time I made one was all the way back in February of 2020. And needless to say, a lot has changed since then. But regardless, we're back today, and we have 6 more contestants to talk about and to go into details on why I made them the way they are and the many mistakes I made along the way. Because let's be real, I definitely made some mistakes along the way. Some contestants more than others. Now, even though at this point we are down to the final 6 of Abandoned, I will only be talking about the contestants who finished from 14th to 9th place. So Grovyle and Quilava, they're gonna have to wait until the final installment of Left Behind. Today, I will only be talking about Kirlia, Mismagius, Manectric, Haunter, Duot, and Froslass. And as another note, I will not be talking about them in that order, as there are a couple characters in particular I want to save to the end. You might have a guess which ones. But without further ado, let's get started and get to talking about our first contestant. My first elimination was a major wake-up call for me. I treated the game like it was a vacation, and I completely ignored the game aspect of Abandoned. I'll still try to flirt a little bit. I mean, come on, who wouldn't with this body? But I'm also going to try to be a little bit friendlier, and play this game so much harder. With great beauty comes great responsibility. Kirlia was given a rare second chance on Abandoned, and managed to make the most of it. But if she was ever told to break a leg while competing, this was probably not what she had in mind. Hi, Evie? Oh, Kirlia, hi. What do you want? You need a break from walking to apply another coat of powder? Okay, I deserve that. Look, I just came by to say thank you. You opened my eyes and made me realize the importance of getting out of one's shell and taking things as they are. I left all of my makeup back at the loser cabin and am here with only the bare essentials. Wow, I'm actually impressed. You seem to be taking this much more seriously. I am, and I was wondering if you would be interested in working with me down the road. I'll have to think about it, but it's definitely something I will consider. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. No problem. So, the Ralts line was always one I had in the mix regarding casting for my TPIs. Ralts was in the cast for every single attempt, but no two Raltses were ever the same. In my first attempt, the Ralts I had was actually male, and I did this because I was young and I wanted to make sure I had a Gallade mixed in with the cast since it's my favorite Pokemon. That Ralt was not meant to make it very far because I wanted them to have a comeback in Season 2, and I had it written for them to be eliminated because they evolved into Kirlia, and they became self-conscious and embarrassed that they looked like a girl, they botched the challenge, and they leave. Not really an idea I look back on fondly. The second time I used Ralts, she was a female, and she was honestly even more invisible than Meditite was this season. She really didn't have much of a purpose until her elimination. So this time, I wanted to make sure that I gave this Ralts a compelling personality and make it so that she was someone I enjoyed writing. I decided to go with her being a superficial model, going into Abandoned, not fully realizing what the hell she was signing up for. I knew the generic bitchy model character would get old quickly, so that's why I sent her home early initially. But I wanted her to learn from her mistakes, to undergo a metamorphosis and come back to Abandoned a completely different Pokemon. Literally. Because she evolved. It was a nice way of showing how much an environment like Abandoned could mean to somebody. And in Kirlia's case, she needed to realize what she would be missing out on in order to appreciate it, so that when she did return, she would not make the same mistake twice. It was a chance for her to step out of her comfort zone, try new things, and meet new people. One of those people being Grovyle. Now, I have to be honest. I was originally not going to have Kirlia and Grovyle become a couple. I just wanted them to be friends. But after they had their little moment in episode 14, when Kirlia gave Grovyle that candy as a placebo to get him to sing, people seemed to really enjoy their dynamic, and I began to reconsider. Granted, this was back when I still had plans for Season 2 with the same cast. So I developed the idea to have them end Season 1 as a couple, and then to break up when Season 2 started so that Grovyle could enter a relationship with, of all Pokemon, Floette. Remember her? The happy-go-lucky, the one that had the crush on Trico when she left? I wanted to develop that for Season 2, but obviously that never ended up happening. I thought with Grovyle and Kirlia's character types that their relationship would enter a routine of hot and heavy for a while, but then break up once things got stale. But as the Season 2 plans fell through and I began writing more and more scenes of just the two of them, they quickly became one of my favorite relationships on the show. So I am perfectly happy with leaving them as they are, and to have them leave abandoned with a happy ending. Have you ever developed feelings for someone that you normally wouldn't develop feelings for? What do you mean? I mean, say you're looking for a certain kind of person to date, and you have this clear image in your head, but then you meet this one person, and even though they don't seem like your type, you develop some weird, conflicting feelings for them. I don't know what you're talking about. Really? Yeah, I mean, if you have a clear image in your head, then that person is still out there for you to find. Don't just settle for whoever this other person is, no matter your feelings. If you're trying to find someone with, say, a bright future and a rocking body, then keep trying to find them. You're not meant to fall in love with anybody else. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if they're feelings of love or not. Wait, you don't even know? Oh, then I totally think you should just ignore it. Are you sure? Absolutely. Just try your best to push that person as far away from your brain as you can, or else you'll give in to temptation and take that damn pothead behind the cabins and have your way with him. Huh? What? Nothing? Nothing at all. So, when it came to Kirlia's elimination the first time, obviously I did so with the intent of having her come back later on. I knew she would become a much more interesting character once she returned, and I needed to have her leave the game in order to become the character that she is now. But when she left the second time, I really had to be creative, because by the time the merge started, I really didn't have much of a purpose for her anymore. Because she had gotten into the relationship with Vale, she had made a few good game moves, and there just really wasn't a place for her anymore. But getting rid of her would be tricky, because she was in a really good game position, if you think about it. I think had Kirlia not been eliminated, she could have easily gone way farther into the game. In fact, I honestly could see her still being in the final 6, but I didn't want that. So I had to really think about how I wanted her game to end. And the first plan I had, my original idea, was not great. Because what was supposed to happen is during the immunity challenge, during the obstacle course challenge, she was supposed to almost get hurt. She was not supposed to actually get injured, but she was going to have a very close call. And that would have shaken her up to the point where she wasn't sure if she could play the game anymore, she wasn't sure if she could handle everything that was left, and she would make the decision to quit the game. And after a while, I realized that is a terrible idea. Because if I ended up doing that with Kirlia, it would completely erase all of the growth and all of the development her character had gone through. So I needed to think of something else. I couldn't have her leave the game that way. And I know a lot of people have asked, oh, well, why couldn't you have just done it, had her be medevaced? Well, I kind of already did that with Totodile, even if it was very different than what Kirlia's was. It just wasn't something I wanted to do twice. Let's just leave it at that. So then I came up with the idea of, well, what if Kirlia actually does get hurt? In fact, I don't know why I even thought of the close call in the first place. And when it came to writing her elimination, I was actually inspired by something I'd seen on another TV show. Now, as some of you might know, I happen to be a connoisseur of reality TV, and one of the shows I happen to watch quite a bit of is Hell's Kitchen. And there was one elimination in the 5th season that inspired me to write Kirlia's elimination the way it was. What happened was, it was very early on in the season, and right before a dinner service, one chef, her name was G, had gotten injured. She had slipped on grease or something in the kitchen, and she badly sprained her ankle or something. Maybe she twisted. I don't quite know what the injury was, but it was really bad. But she managed to fight through the pain, finish service as one of the stronger chefs, but her team still lost. So the team nominated 2 other chefs that were clearly not going to win the game. And by the time elimination had rolled around, G was in so much pain that she had to be escorted out into the dining room in a wheelchair. And right before Ramsay was about to make his decision, G suddenly raised her hand and said, "Chef, you know what? And she was very emotional. She's like, I really appreciate the opportunity, and as much as I would love to stay and learn from you, I don't think it's fair for me to still be here on just one leg, and when I'm in so much pain, when these two chefs are able to give 110%, which I cannot. Ramsey came forward and honored G's request, and she was eliminated instead, and the other two chefs were saved. That's kind of what I wanted to go for when it came to sending Kirlia home, where you would see how much she still wanted to be here, how much she wanted to continue to stay, fight, and win, but how she knew deep down she wasn't going to be able to play the game that she knew she could have before. I thought that was a much better idea than the one I had initially, and I thought that this still maintained Kirlia's growth and Kirlia's overall new outlook on life. And one more thing I might add. I know there were some people that were a little annoyed with like, oh, you were totally setting this up for Manectric to go, and then you just did a left turn. I am not apologizing for that at all. I thought that was executed very, very well. I had to add some surprise factor, and given what Manectric was going through, I thought it would add that little bit of suspense where you'd actually think, wait, is he seriously going to do this? But no, I stand by the decision 100%, and all in all, I think Kirlia's story was best ended there, and I'm really happy with how her character turned out. So, as you know, today has been a bit of a roller coaster, especially for me, given the accident. As you know, I was given the all clear to continue, provided I care for myself, stay in this cast, and let it heal properly. At first, I was just so relieved to be staying, and all I cared about was getting back to camp as soon as possible and keep playing this game like I've been playing it for the past few weeks. But as the days gone on, and I've had more time to think, I've truly realized what limitations I'm going to have going forward. Which brings me to why I went to Bisharp. I'm really sorry to have to do this, but I've decided to pull myself from the game. No! Kirlia! Wow. Oh my god. Alright, I'm gonna interject here. This is not a meeting of trying to convince Kirlia to stay or anything. She's made her decision, and it's clear that she's not changing her mind. So as of this moment, Kirlia is no longer in the game, and she's no longer in the running for the $1 million prize. I'm so sorry, guys. Don't be sorry. Kirlia. It's okay. You understand. It's alright. Sorry. I know the last time you left, I had some pretty choice words to say to you. I didn't think you cared, and I didn't think you even tried to play this game at all. But I saw a spark in you that I didn't see the first time you were here. You actually tried, and you gave it everything you had to give. And I honestly think you were in a good position to make it really far in this game, and maybe even win it. I'm so sorry that this happened to you, but I'm at least happy that you went out actually playing, than sitting on the bleachers. Thank you so much, Espion. That means a lot. Kirlia, a valiant effort. But tonight, your game comes to an end. Please head out to the bus of shame, and we'll get you out of here. Okay. Bye, guys. Bye, Kirlia. Bye, Kirlia. Bye. Get well soon. Wait, hold on. I want to walk her out. Now, when it comes to favorite moments, one does come to mind with Kirlia, and that's in episode 13 when she's facing her worst fear. You know, when she wakes up and like her hair's different colors and she looks absolutely hideous. Just her reaction, it brings back the melodramatic Ralts that we had seen before she was eliminated just for a little bit. And I had a lot of fun writing that segment, and it was just another crazy chaotic element to add to what was already a crazy chaotic episode. Kirlia? Are you okay? Look away, Trico. Spare yourself from my hideousness. Come on, I'm sure it's not that bad. What the hell got into him? Oh my Arceus! Kirlia, what happened? I don't know. I go to bed, everything's fine. I wake up, I look like the Crypt Keeper! Ha! Freaky Friday! Man, I am on a roll today. Just because Haunter and I actually had a conversation like adults should, it does not mean that I'm in the mood to work with him. He's still as shady is. I may be desperate for allies right now that Swellow's gone, but I'm not that desperate. Calm, quiet, and easily influenced. Mismagius started off the game working with the right people and making smart moves. But one bad ally sent her game on a downward spiral. And she wasn't able to recover in time. What about you? Where are you from? I think she's sleeping. Oh, no, I'm not sleeping. I just don't really feel like talking right now. Why not? I'm just really tired from the plane ride. And then to go right to this, it's just a little much right now. Oh, okay, sorry. We don't mean to bug you. Poor girl, she seems shy. Yeah, I hope she puts herself out there more. You need to do that for a game like this. Like Kirlia, Mismagius was a TPI staple on my channel, and was in both of my previous attempts. I honestly don't remember much about her personality-wise. I think she was just a normal character. You know, no personality, no quirks, really nothing. However, one thing she had in common in both attempts is that I linked her romantically with a Murkrow. Now, in terms of Pokemon couple cliches, Misdreavus and Murkrow are one of the most common. Ever since the days of Nicholas Nordstrom II, these two have been coupling up on several TPIs, and at first, mine was no different. But going on this third attempt, I didn't want to do that, which was one of the reasons as to why I did not include a Murkrow on the final roster. It was also because I felt the character was too much of a cliche anyway, which is why I did include my Hank the Haunter side character to poke fun at the archetype. But back to Mismagius. Going into this season, I wanted to sprinkle in a little bit of personal turmoil with the cast. We see that with several players, but with Mismagius, I felt as though to match the closed-off, shy personality I had in mind for her, that I should explain that she'd recently dealt with a family tragedy. Usually in reality shows, there's always at least one contestant who talks about how their mom or dad recently died and that they're doing the show for them. This showed that Mismagius had deep family ties, and that she was looking for this show to be a therapeutic experience for her of sorts. Whether or not it was one is up in the air, but one good thing about her journey was that she was able to meet Swellow. Now, Swellow and Mismagius were admittedly one of my more generic couplings. They were basically Gwen and Trent. Mismagius was the introverted, spooky outcast, and Swellow was the attractive, deep-thinking musician. I think in hindsight I could have been a bit more creative with them, but I ended up liking how they turned out. It gave Mismagius a reason to come out of her shell, and talking about her mom with Swellow, and even Haunter later on, helped give her a little bit of therapy and got her to move on from that place in her life. Now, let's talk about Haunter for a quick minute. Even though I'm not really crazy with how that whole plot turned out. I'll explain this more in the next part, but this was originally meant to set up something bigger had I brought the cast into a future season. That, of course, didn't really work out like I wanted it to, and was really one of those plots that I just tried to wing it. And that's never a smart idea. It was bursting at the seams, and I'm glad that it ended when it did, because I didn't like that I was turning Mismagius into somebody that she wasn't. And that was a saboteur. What's going on? What? Nothing. Everything's fine. Okay, then why are you acting so strange? And how come you're doing so well all of a sudden? I don't want to talk about it. You're cheating, aren't you? What? No! Why can't you assume I'm actually doing this well by my own will? Because you just reacted like you did? I'm making mistakes, that's all. Sure. Call it however you want to call it. Welcome to the dark side. Now, considering the fact that I was scrapping my Season 2 plans, I began to realize that I had taken Mismagius way further than she needed to go. I'll admit right now that I should not have taken her to the merge. As I said before, the whole point of Mismagius making it that far was to establish a rapport with Haunter, and to expand on their relationship in the next season. You might have an idea on where this is going, but considering Mismagius was my Gwen, and Swallow was my Trent, Haunter was going to be my Duncan, and would play a part in a love triangle for the first part of that season. Yeah, you'd think I'd learned my lesson after the first love triangle, but apparently not. What was supposed to happen was, during Mismagius' elimination episode, Haunter was supposed to confess that he was falling in love with her, but Mismagius would have rejected him and then get eliminated. But then for Season 2, it would have started with Mismagius and Swallow being on the rocks. In between the seasons, Swallow's music career would have started to take off, and the fame and success would have gotten to his head and he would have started to neglect Mismagius. Mismagius would, understandably, get tired of this, and would start to turn to Haunter as someone that she could vent to. Eventually, Mismagius would have lashed out at Swallow, calling him out on his attitude, and in her frustrations, she and Haunter would have kissed and admitted their feelings for one another. But Swallow, realizing how much of a jerk he'd been, would go over and apologize to Mismagius, and he'd be sincere, but he'd soon learn the truth, and that'd be the end of it. I think I also had another love interest for Swallow in there, but I don't remember. So basically, my plan was to make Mismagius a cheater and set up drama with her and Swallow. Not only that, but due to her close association with Haunter, she was going to start to embrace his gameplay style and become a major villain for the season. Remember when I said that Corfish was going to win Season 2? Well, Mismagius was meant to be a finalist. The season was meant to showcase her rise to power, and then her eventual defeat by the most unlikely of players. While I maintained that I would have loved to take a character like her and do a complete 180 in terms of personality, in hindsight, I prefer leaving Mismagius as the shy, friendly ghost that she is, and leaving her relationship with Swallow as a happy and solid one. And since none of those plots ended up coming to fruition, Mismagius was taken about 5 episodes too far. Even when I finally sent her home, it didn't go how I wanted it to. I stand by the group's decision to spare Haunter, because he was starting to check out, whereas Mismagius was still mentally in the game. But the big flaw, as some of you pointed out, was the penalty from the challenge. After getting busted for cheating, Haunter and Mismagius were each given a penalty vote for elimination that night. And you guys felt that the punishment was too light and didn't really affect too much in the grand scheme of things. And you know what? I agree. I was already dead set on making Haunter and Mismagius my bottom 2 that I didn't think too much about the punishment itself, since I knew it wouldn't matter much. But as time's gone on and I've taken a look back on the episode, here's what I wish I would have done. I think out of fairness for the other players, especially those that were eliminated because of Haunter and Mismagius, I should have made everybody immune that night except for Haunter and Mismagius. They'd be the only 2 anyone could vote for, and no one would have to lose the game as a result of the incident. And then, to be fair to Grovile, since he did win the challenge fair and square, I would have extended his immunity to the next episode as well, since that wouldn't have affected anything either. I think that would have made more sense, but it is what it is. Mismagius was going to turn into a much bigger player in the future, but when the future changed, we were stuck with what could have been instead. Mismagius. Oh my gosh, what the hell? No. Even without the penalty vote, the result still would have been the same. Mismagius, your second chance to prove yourself won't be coming after all. And you've officially been eliminated from Abandoned. Haunter, here is your berry. You are safe. What? Mismagius, final thoughts? Trusting you not only cost me $1 million, but it also cost me my dignity. I should have known you were full of shit with your pleas to go home. Wait, what? No, Mismagius, that's not— Save it! Thank you for ruining my game, and from the bottom of my heart, I truly hope I never see you in my life again. Good riddance. Mismagius! Mismagius! I gave you one job. One job! You couldn't even do that right. As I said, I much preferred leaving Mismagius as the character that she was at the start of the game, as opposed to what she became. And I think that during the babysitting challenge, when she was talking to Buffy, I think that provided another big moment of clarity for Mismagius. Because I think in comparison to Swellow and even Haunter, this was the most unexpected moment of therapy Mismagius had on the show. And I think it was just another reminder that she could move on from this, and that she could let this terrible, terrible time in her life go, and move on from it and become stronger.
I get that. I miss my family too. They're all the way back in Johto though. I haven't seen them in over a month. Well, what's your family like? Oh, they're amazing. I love them more than anything in the world. My dad has always been super supportive of me and whatever I do. Same with my brother and sister. What about your mommy? Oh, my mommy's actually not around anymore. Where did she go? She got really sick and couldn't be around us anymore. You mean she died? Yeah. I'm never gonna see her again. I'm sorry. Thank you, Buffy. Do you miss her? Oh, of course. Every day. But you know what? It's okay. I know she's in a better place. And I know the last thing she'd want is for me to be sad all the time. It also helps me to appreciate the family I still have with me. Sure, I miss them like crazy, but at least I know they'll be waiting for me once I get home.
Do I look like the kind of person who should be taking care of kids? No. I'm the kind of person that strikes fear into kids, not love and happiness. This one's going to be a tough one for me. Out of all the players in this game, Haunter was probably the one who most liked to stir things up. Whether it be challenges or alliances, he loved to start drama. Unfortunately for him, so did the others. And Haunter ended up falling victim to one of the biggest blindsides of the season.
Ugh. Listen to those two go on and on about how smart they are. Genius may be important, but you also need to be sneaky and cutthroat to make it far in a game like this. Do you understand what I mean? Ah! What? What did I do?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just get frightened really easily.
You've got to be kidding me. Why would you sign up for a show like this then?
I think a lot of people can agree that Haunter was a very cliched character. I tried so hard to flip a lot of well-known archetypes on their heads. A smart Munchlax, an evil Lucario, but I did let a couple cliches slip through the cracks. It's just difficult to turn a Pokemon like Haunter into something other than a villain. I'm sure it's possible, but it's something I chose not to explore. I wanted to add a bit of familiarity with him. Some villains you wouldn't expect, and some you could. But originally, Haunter was meant to be more of a prankster character than a standard villain. Hence why he did things like putting laxatives in the lemonade and stuff like that. Hell, he even had a different voice the first few episodes. You might have just heard a difference a second ago. I tried to at least avoid the cliche Transylvania-esque voice that was so common, but I ended up forgetting that early on, and it just ended up sticking. Eventually, I got bored with Haunter being a prankster and just reverted to my original idea for him, which was a saboteur. Of the four main villains, I'd say that Haunter probably had the least flashy game, if that's even possible. Yes, he played an idol on Servine, but other than the few allies he had, he mostly kept to himself, and stayed quiet as the targets were placed on other people. Haunter's big role was to be the catalyst to help bring other villains to fruitions and make them the threats that they ultimately became. First, it was Fletchender. He helped her to become a saboteur just like him, and to be the heart of most of the drama on Team Lunala. He was also the one who inspired her to truly become the bossy HBIC that she was. I mean, Fletchender already was that a little bit, but Haunter helped to crank that up to 11. But he didn't trust her enough to give her his idol. He instead found that trust in Servine. Haunter became her saving grace once Servine came back into the competition and gave her the extra life she desperately needed at the expense of Panseer. Alright, I get it. Jeez. If it wasn't for Haunter, Servine's game would have fallen apart as soon as it was rebuilt. But once that idol was played for her, there was no point to continue their relationship. Servine had the kickstart she needed and focused on dealing with Quilava and Zorua. And then, after Servine ditched him, Haunter turned his sights onto Mismagius. And as I said before, he was meant to help bring her to villainous tyranny for Season 2. Even though, again, that never amounted to what it was supposed to be, it would have proved its point later on. Haunter was almost like an evil Mr. Miyagi type. He would train people to become villains, and then they would go off and do their own thing. It made Haunter seem like more of a low-key villain, even if he did have his moments, like using the idol. I would say Haunter didn't leave as big of an impact as the other main villains have, but I think he still served his purpose and helped to bring several powerful players to the forefront of the game. Oran Berries, go too. Bishop, can I say something really quick?
What's he doing?
Oh, sure, go ahead. Everyone, this game has been pretty insane lately. So I thought it only fair to bring a little more insanity to the table. What the? Is that what I think it is? A wooden Bisharp idol? Oh my god. Well, I don't know. Let me see it first. Yep, it's legit. This is, in fact, a wooden Bisharp idol. I assume you're using this on yourself? Actually, I don't think I'm in any danger tonight, Bisharp. I'm going to use this on Servine.
What?
Are you serious? Yes. You need this more than me. Oh my god. This is not happening. I can see the shocked faces all around. Clearly not what they had anticipated. But nevertheless, this is an idol, and it's being used on Servine. Therefore, all votes for Servine no longer count. Your game is not over yet, my friend. Damn right it's not. Now, by the time Haunter was eliminated from the show, his storyline and his plot had long since ended. But here's the thing. Originally, Haunter was meant to go so much further than he did. The elimination order of Abandoned, for the most part, has relatively stayed the same since it was created all the way back in 2016, with the exception of a couple fixes that I ended up making later on. The big one being Haunter getting eliminated well before I originally intended him to. The original plan was for Haunter to make it all the way to the final 6. Yeah, that was the plan. And I'm really glad I didn't do that, because I don't think I had much for him in terms of plot. He really just would have been there. Eventually, I swapped him with the 7th place finisher because the elimination idea I had for the 7th place finisher made absolutely zero sense. I'll talk about that another time, but for the longest time, that's where Haunter was placed. He was in 7th, and that's as far as he was supposed to go. And it wasn't until, actually, either episode 21 or 22, I don't remember which one, that I finally started to realize, wait a minute, there's no point in having Haunter make it that deep into the game. There was absolutely no point. Plus, I was looking again at the elimination I had originally planned for episode 24, which was the episode that Haunter ended up getting eliminated at. But the original idea was for Duot to be eliminated that night. And the plan was for everyone to get tired of the multiple deals he was making, and Haunter was going to give him a fake immunity idol and just pretend that he thought it was real when Bisharp would be like, oh, this is fake. And just try to play it off that that's the idol he had the whole time and how he had no clue that it was fake. That would have been Duot's downfall and the game would have gone forward. But I kind of had the same moment of epiphany that Magmar had, where it's like, wait a minute. They can toss all those votes onto Duot. If we vote for Duot, we're just doing what they want us to do. When we have the votes to get rid of somebody else. That's when I realized it wouldn't really make sense for them to vote out Duot that night. So I tried to think if I could make a different elimination work there. I'm like, they wouldn't vote for Froslass and Quilava. Lucario has immunity. I need Servine to stay. And that's when the light bulb went off and I realized, wait a minute, this is where Haunter can go. And I looked back at all the other episodes I had planned just to make sure that this didn't mess anything up. And I'm like, nope, this makes sense. I'm going to go for it. And that's exactly what I did. So in that quick moment, Haunter was swiftly dropped from 7th to 11th. And everyone that was originally eliminated before Haunter moved up one spot. So Duot moved from 11 to 10, Froslass moved from 10 to 9, and so on. So that elimination ended up being one of the most shocking I've done since Abandon started. And it was a shock not only for you guys, but really for me, since I hadn't planned on doing it for very long. But I'm really glad I did, because episode 24 is honestly one of my all-time favorite episodes I've done, for multiple reasons. The biggest one being, after I was done with episode 23, I just encountered this big case of burnout. I was so done with the series, I didn't really want to work on it, and it was probably the one time since I've created Abandon that I actually considered pulling the plug. And I'm so glad I didn't, because we've made it this far, we're so close to the end, and you guys deserve to see how it all plays out. So, writing episode 24 was like me coming back with a vengeance. Was proving to myself that I could still do this, and proving to myself that I could still make the show exciting and entertaining. And I think Haunter's elimination accomplished that so well. Now, normally, I would have all of you head on out to the confessional and go through the voting process again, but I gotta be honest, it really doesn't seem like anyone here is changing their minds on who they want out. A proper revote would just drag out the inevitable, and the result just seems too obvious to do so. So instead, I'm just gonna do this revote right here and right now. Oh, God. That sound good to everyone? Yes. No. Too bad, not your call. It takes 5 votes to go home. Espeon, who you voting for tonight? Haunter or Duot? I'm voting for Haunter. Grovile? Haunter. Hitmonlee? Haunter. Flaffy? Haunter. Magmar? Haunter's going home. Ugh. Shit. That's it? No need to go any further. F*** this. Haunter, with 5 votes, you've officially okay then. I'll be honest, it was really difficult to come up with a favorite moment for Haunter because, honestly, he wasn't really one of my favorite characters. Kind of like Mismagius, again, I think I took him a little too far. If I could go back and eliminate him sooner, I probably would have. But I think my favorite moment was probably the prank he pulled in episode 4, because I think that set up his character very nicely, and it was just a nice little burst of mayhem from this crazy little ghost to show that he is not someone Team Solgaleo ever expected they would have to work with.
Ghastly? Actually, I would like all of you to try this one. Oh, okay. Gather round, guys. Ghastly, this just tastes like regular lemonade. Wait for the kick. What kick? Oh. Man, that went through fast. Oh, ow, yeah, same here. Ghastly, what did you do? Oh, I just used the regular ingredients. Lemons, water, sugar.
And of course, Speedy Lax. Speedy Lax? Oh god, out of my way! Ghastly, why? Why would you do that? Oh, come on. This is hilarious. No. I'm going for no. Where's the bathroom? Forget that. I'm going in the bushes. Ghastly. Ah!
Everything about that movie was terrifying. I could barely look at the screen for 5 minutes without getting scared. I know I've gotten a lot better when it comes to being brave and confident, but I still have my limits. There was just so much blood. A character you love to root for, and one who had some surprisingly loyal fans, Matt. Froslass overcame a lot of her nerves going into Abandoned, and came out a stronger ghost than ever before. That is, until one fateful challenge caused her dreams to disappear.
Why would you sign up for a show like this then?
To get out of my comfort zone and try not to be as scared of things. Wow, that's really great. Good for you.
Oh, please. You need to have some sort of backbone prior to survive in a game like this. If you're someone who's afraid of their own shadow, you won't even last one day.
I at least think I have more of a shot than a mean guy like you.
Oh, really? Scary face! Ah! Hey, that wasn't very nice.
Yeah, was that really called for?
Actually, yes. I think it proved my point perfectly.
Now we come to Froslass, a character who, I will admit, I've kept the same since her conception many years ago. She's been in all 3 attempts, all with the same personality as the quiet scaredy cat. I don't remember much from the first attempt, but it was the second attempt where the basis for Froslass was really built. Really, the only difference in the storylines was something that had nothing to do with Froslass at all. It was the love interest. Instead of falling in love with Ivysaur, Froslass developed a crush on another character, Duskull. Duskull was basically the chill ghost of the cast. The cool guy, he filled in as leader if need be, but mostly stayed under the radar. Not only that, but as I was writing this, I realized that the way Froslass evolved in that season was almost exactly the same as it went on Abandoned. Froslass gets captured as a snow runt, this time by a Pidgeot, not a Honchkrow, and Duskull goes to save her. But as they fight, Froslass shows up, evolved, having taken a Dawnstone from her captor's stash. She and her friend beat up the bird, and they go on to win the challenge. The only differences in that one being that Duskull did not evolve, and that the two became an actual couple afterwards. No funny business. I tried really hard to put Duskull in the cast for Abandoned, but he ended up being one of the final cuts. Although, I did plan on bringing him on for Season 2. More on that in a second. Now, let's move on to the biggest point of Froslass' story, her relationship with Ivysaur. With Duskull out of the question, I wanted to turn to someone else to help Froslass come out of her shell, and to possibly be a new love interest for her. The direction I went with for Froslass was that she never really had too many friends back home, and the first guy friend she starts to bond with, she develops feelings for. Maybe because she's not aware of what those feelings are supposed to be like yet, if that makes sense. Basically, Froslass wasn't really in love with Ivysaur, but she thought she was. Kinda like what Duot went through with Flaffy. Now, as I said last time when I talked about Ivysaur, I changed the plot for these two at the last minute. Instead of guiltily starting a relationship with Froslass, Ivysaur would have basically just avoided her until the time came to save her life. But I thought that was too boring, so I changed it to something that was a bit more exciting. I did consider ending their storyline with them actually becoming a couple, but I ultimately thought their dynamic would have worked better as friends, and I figured that not every guy-girl partnership in a TBI has to end in a relationship. This just seemed more realistic. However, there was a time I considered dragging this on a bit more, and that would have happened in Season 2. As I mentioned, my plan was to introduce Duskull as a new contestant for Season 2, and that would have kickstarted the relationship between the two ghosts that I had always envisioned. Ivysaur, once he sees this, starts to get jealous, and you guessed it, formed another love triangle! Oh my god, what was I thinking? One was bad enough, but I had already had 2 more planned. and even a third, which I'll get to later. But it wouldn't have lasted long. It would have either ended with Froslass saying that she had moved on, or that Ivysaur had blown his chance, and he would have accepted this, and would have been eliminated pretty early. In retrospect, it just seemed like an unnecessary wrench in their friendship that wasn't needed. Look, I had a lot of bad ideas for Season 2, and this is just another reminder to me that it's best to leave these storylines as they are, and move on.
Lights out, buddy. Ha 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 ha! Ow! What the hell? Leave him alone. What the? Snow runs? I mean, Froslass? When I was trapped in his dungeon and I found some berries, and as you can see, also a Dawnstone. You used my Dawnstone? Do you know how hard it was to find that thing? That's it. You're both going to pay now. Ice Beam. Ha! You'll have to be faster than that if you want to. Ow! Come on! Go, Froslass, finish him off. Okay, Blizzard. Ow! Ow! Ah! He's not backing down. Looks like I'll have to go to this. Solar Beam! Oh no. Ah! Oh.
Froslass was a character who underwent a lot of growth on Abandoned, and had a lot of big moments that really showed how much she had grown and come out of her shell. And I think that's the big reason why I took her as far as I did. I know a lot of people kept saying in the comments, like, why is Froslass still here? She has no purpose. She should have been sent home weeks ago. And honestly, I just didn't know where to put her. She was just one of those players where maybe I carried her along a bit too far, but putting her anywhere else just didn't make a lot of sense to me. I didn't want her to get eliminated so quickly after Ivysaur, so I'm like, okay, let's have her make the merge. And then other storylines were just wrapping up, and those eliminations needed to happen more so than Froslass's. Hers was not a high priority. I'm like, okay, I need Kirlia to go home. Manectric's gotta leave. Haunter's gonna be put there. And she ended up making it to the final 9. And even with that elimination, I still wasn't sure how to properly execute it. It went through a few drafts. First, I considered having her just be eliminated, kind of like how DJ was eliminated on Total Drama, and because this was the Scary Movie Challenge, and Bishop just be like, oh, Froslass, you did the worst, you're going home. But, come on. DJ's elimination was bullshit. I mean, there were a lot of bullshit's elimination in Total Drama, and that was one of them. And then another idea I had, and this one was before I had moved Haunter to 11th, it was going to be where Espeon was kind of blackmailing... Okay, blackmailing's the wrong word, but she was kind of forcing Quilava to turn against Froslass, otherwise they would have gone after her. It was another convoluted elimination that didn't really make sense, especially when they could have gone after a much bigger threat. So that ended up getting scrapped too. Finally, I decided, you know what, I think I need to make this an elimination challenge, because it was another situation like Kirlia, a very likable character, wasn't really getting targeted, and I just needed them to go. It's exactly what Servine was saying. No one was targeting her, and this is the chance to get her gone. So I ended up turning to my partner in crime, Mr. Sarcastic Slowking, for help, and he gave me the idea for the challenge about passing the knife and having the person stuck with the knife at the end of the challenge get eliminated. I'm like, that's perfect. And then I realized the very ironic twist, because Mr. Sarcastic Slowking is Froslass's biggest fan. I still don't get why. I mean, no offense, Matt, but I don't really know why you love Froslass so much. I mean, I like her. I don't like her. She's not one of the best characters, but I don't know. I'm not gonna dwell on it. The point is, I just thought it was hilarious to have Matt's challenge idea be the reason Froslass gets sent home. And I even told him right after he gave me the idea, I'm like, you know what? Given who I'm eliminating, this is going to be perfect. And he's like, oh, great. Thankfully, he wasn't offended, and he took it all in stride. And he was happy that a character like Froslass was sent home in a pretty badass way like this. But in terms of Froslass making it to the final 9, I don't regret it. I think it was good to have her on the show for this long. I think it was good to see those little moments here and there to kind of remind you, oh, hey, Froslass is still here. She's still relevant. And plus, doesn't that usually happen in shows like this, where there's a character who had a lot of screen time at the start of the season, all of a sudden just become invisible? I don't know. But I'm happy with what I did with her, and I think she left a really good impact on the show. It would seem this challenge has left us with an emotional outcome. Froslass, after several weeks playing this game, it was not a vote that sent you home, but a challenge instead. What do you have to say with all this perspective?
It's really disappointing, Bisharp. I know that this game has been moving at a faster pace than I was used to, and I've been having a really hard time keeping up with it, especially in the challenges. But I still ended up losing. And it just proved that this game had gotten to a point where I couldn't keep up with it anymore. I feel like such a loser.
Don't say that. You can't say that after how far you've come out here. Maybe you didn't win, but think of all the things you were able to do.
You turned a Dusknoir into an icicle. You defeated a Guzzlord. You even beat a Pokemon warrior at their own game. You outlasted almost 3/4 of the people that started this. And you're calling yourself a loser? Losing is tough. There's no doubt about that. But you have to look at the bigger picture and see just what you've done to get this far. What you've done here? That's a win if I ever saw one. You guys are right. I certainly can't feel bad after having done all of that.
Froslass, your time here on Abandoned has come to an end. Please say your goodbyes and head over to the Bus of Shame.
I'll miss you, girl. Good luck with everything. I'll be rooting for you on the sidelines. Bye, guys.
Bye, Froslass.
Bye, later.
Miss you, Froslass. My favorite Froslass moment, this is so easy to pick. It was her big win in episode 25 in the Pokemon Warriors Challenge. Because Froslass had kind of been having a really rough time with the challenges once the merge started. She was either coming in last or second to last. And this was the big win she needed. This was the confidence boost that she had been longing for, and this was the moment that gave her the confidence and the drive to keep going, even if her game was about to come to an end the next episode. But I thought it was big, and I needed a moment like that for Froslass somewhere in there, and I think this was the perfect place for it.
Let's go. Let's go. She made it! She's made it to the last station. Only a few seconds left. Can she make the shot? She's taking aim. Huh? Oh my god! She's done it! She hit the target! I don't believe it! Froslass has hit the target! What? The girls have won immunity! The girls are safe for the night! Froslass, you did it! Oh my god! You did it! Yes!
Holy crap.
Nice. I won. Oh my gosh, I actually won!
You know what? I'll give her props. I hate to lose, but that was impressive. Son of a bitch.
I'm safe. Oh my god, I'm safe. I can't believe this. I know that might have seemed like a bit much for me to unleash earlier. But honestly, with how much pain Duot's brought me and Flaffy this game, he deserved it. I don't know how Flaffy's gonna react when she finds out, but hopefully she'll see my good intentions and see that Duot isn't the guy she thinks he is.
We're really doing this? It's time? Okay. One of the most polarizing characters on the show, which was never my intention, Manectric seemed much more focused on getting the girl than getting the $1 million. Well, he got the girl, but the money was taken away from him by the last person he thought would do it.
Look at it outside. Doesn't the view look amazing?
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Are you okay?
Huh? Oh, sorry. Just got a little distracted by the view. So, where are you from?
Oh, just from a little town in Johto. Small town girl, not much else to it.
Oh, that's cool. I've always wondered what it'd be like to live in a small town. I've always lived in the big city, so I'm not used to being so far away from all the bright lights and the busy street sounds, so this is a big step for me. Alright, people, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time to talk about the fucking love triangle. Or at least 2/3 of it. First, let's talk about Manectric. I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure if I've used an Electrike before or not. I might have used one in my first attempt, but I honestly don't remember anything about if I did or not. And I don't remember anything about his character. So he might have actually been worse than the Manectric I had on Abandoned. Yeah, I'm not gonna beat around the bush. We all know that the love triangle was a hot mess from start to finish. It was a plot that seemed so simple in my head, and in reality, that's all it was. Simple. I stretched this plot out for way too long and didn't add enough excitement to keep it interesting until the very end. The reason it went on for as long as it did was because so many other plots were going on at the same time, and while they were all meant to end at earlier times, I needed something to stretch until we got to the merge. So because of that, I didn't amp up the intensity until we got to the end to make it so that the other storylines could take focus. It made sense in my head at the time, but it made the plot so boring. There's so many things I wish I could have done to change the storyline that I can't fit them all into one video. But the biggest thing, something I needed to do, was to give Manectric some goddamn personality. Manectric was meant to be the nice guy of the love triangle, the Jim to Flaffy's Pam, and the guy that everybody wanted to root for. Unfortunately, I didn't really expand on Manectric's character well enough, and I made it so that Flaffy was the only thing this fool could talk about. I don't know what I was thinking. He had no personality, no quirks, no goals, not even a backstory. Hell, his tag in the intro was the self-conscious athlete. Athlete? When the hell did I have him talk about sports? I think I mentioned the track team a couple times, but not much else. With Flaffy being essentially the only thing Manectric talked about, he ended up becoming really annoying. I still think I managed to make him endearing, however, and a big shoulder for many people to lean on throughout the game. But really, the basis of Manectric's personality was improved by his relationships with the other cast members, especially Flaffy, Magmar, and even Duot. Let's start with Flaffy. Pretty straightforward there. They were the first alliance of the season, and Manectric was meant to be the person Flaffy turned to when her relationship with Duot started to crumble. I didn't want it to seem like Manectric was pushing Flaffy in a particular direction. I wanted him to truthfully talk with her and to support her as a friend instead of as a potential suitor. I think Flaffy and Manectric's interactions by themselves were okay. The problem was that Manectric wasn't really doing much to deal with his attraction other than sit idly by waiting for Duot to mess up. I should have given him more confidence and made it so that he made his move much earlier. So much earlier. I remember seeing someone, I don't remember who, but they made an improved plot for the love triangle where Manectric would confess to Flaffy after the singing challenge, and that would start the shift in Flaffy's feelings. Whoever that person was, they had it right. That would have been so much better, and I'm honestly mad at myself for not doing that in the first place. Yeah, it all worked out in the end, but it could have been a much more interesting ride than the one we had. Next, let's go over to Manectric's best bud, Magmar. I'd say, next to Grovyle and Corphish, Manectric and Magmar were my favorite bromance of the season. Manectric was meant to be an older brother figure to Magmar to help him come out of his shell and embrace the game for what it was. I think he helped to supply some of the more heartwarming moments on the show, and is a big reason that Magmar is the character he is now. I also had to set it up so that it would be all the more painful for when Magmar inadvertently sended Manectric home, which I'll get to in a little bit. Finally, we have Duot. Fully meant from the start to be the romantic rivals of the season. For all the messiness that this storyline brought from start to finish, you have to admit, these two did bring a fair amount of drama, especially in their last few episodes. I really enjoyed writing the fight scene in episode 22 because it finally brought forward the drama and excitement that had been missing. I'll go into things more with Duot in a bit, but despite the lack of personality, I still think Manectric had some good qualities, and played a big role in moving the other plots forward, even though I couldn't move forward his own.
And you know what? If you do somehow find love one day, and prove me wrong, then I will feel immensely sorry for your love, as her taste in men is clearly something that's broken. Just like you. Anything else you'd like to add? Thought so. Ow! What the hell was that?
That's it. I'm not dealing with your abuse anymore, Duot. To me, or to Flaffy. I don't care if she finds out about everything, because I'm not waiting another moment to finally kick your ass. Ah! Ah! What the hell? Oh, those idiots. You make me sick. Everything you do is just for your own gain. Let's see how you like feeling helpless. Thunderbolt! No. No! Ah! Ah! Ugh. Ugh. That ought to show him. What the? Wait. Did I? Oh my god. I did! Finally! Yes! Manectric's elimination from the start was always meant to be a big shock elimination. But I think it would have had more impact if I had made Manectric a better character. If I had really made him the love interest that you wanted to root for instead of the one that you groaned at every time he came on the screen. But I still think I was able to surprise a lot of people with his elimination. It was meant to shake things up, and it was meant to cause rifts, basically with everybody. And even though a lot of those rifts were repaired the next episode, they did leave some lasting impacts, and they did set the stage for what has eventually become of Abandoned. And from the start, I always knew I wanted Magmar to play a big role in Manectric's elimination. I just couldn't figure out how to do it. I went through a few different ideas in my head. I even at one point had Magmar vote for Manectric by pure accident, but I thought that was kind of stupid. I ended up going with this because I wanted to highlight the fact that even though Manectric had beef with Duot, Magmar didn't really have that same beef. He and Duot were still kind of okay, and Magmar didn't really have much of a reason to target him. So I wanted Duot to play on this sort of alliance that they kind of had, even though they didn't really have one, and just distract Magmar into doing exactly what he wanted. In terms of Manectric's reaction to Magmar, I know a lot of people were kind of disappointed with that. Here's the thing. We see all the stuff that's happening on Abandoned. They don't know everything that happens. There's some stuff they're left in the dark about, there's some things that happen behind their back that they don't realize until the last minute, so they don't have all the information. Manectric thought he was 100% good with Magmar, and he was, but still, he never in a million years thought that Magmar would vote him out, or would betray him, or would do something that he didn't want him to do. So this was a big shock for him. And the fact that he was getting all this information at once from so many people, he just didn't know what to say, and he didn't know what to believe. I think it was a very natural reaction for Manectric to have, and to just be so overwhelmed by all of the information that he just didn't know what to say to Magmar as he was leaving. Was it painful to watch? Absolutely. Even I started to get emotional as I was writing it, and as I was recording it. But it was the push that Magmar needed for his own journey, and it was just what I felt would be the catastrophic end to a catastrophic character's gameplay. And I don't regret how I chose to go about it at all. The last vote of the night is for... Please. Come on. Servine. What? Oh my god.
What the hell?
Servine?
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's one vote for Servine, but it doesn't matter. Because with one vote, Servine is safe. With 2 votes, Flaffy is safe. And with 4 votes, Duot is safe as well. Which means... No. Say it. Manectric, you have officially been eliminated from Abandoned. No! Yes! Yes! We did it! We pulled it off! Yes! Wow. What happened? What? Even with Flappy's vote being stolen, we would have had enough to tie. Alright, if anybody even starts pointing fingers at me, we're gonna have a problem, because I am not going through this shit again. I did it. What? It was me. I voted for Servine. Why? What? Are you serious? It was you? Manectric, please, you have to believe me. Duot came to me at the last minute with this plan for Servine that I thought was real. And I panicked and decided to listen to him. You have to know that it was a mistake. Please. Please say something. Say anything. Manectric? Good luck. What? Good luck? No! Manectric, please come back! Manectric! Manectric, wait! No. For Manectric's favorite moment, I'm gonna go back to the moment where, again, I felt things should have started to pick up with the love triangle, and where Manectric should have properly made his move. And that is in episode 14, when he's saying, treat you better, to Flaffy, even though Flaffy didn't know it was to her. Personally, I love it because it was a good showcase of my singing voice, and also because I think it was a good showcase that Manectric had his own talents that even he didn't realize he had. Tell me, why are we wasting time on all a wasted crime when you should be with me instead? I know I can treat you better. Better than he can. Better than he can. Better than he can. Well, was it good? Dude! Where was that hiding? That was insane. And the fact that you had to fill in last minute is even more amazing. You have a gift, my man. A real gift. Are you a serious musician? No, it never crossed my mind. I'd consider it. I think you have some real potential. Okay, scores? I'm saying 9. I will also say 9. Electric? Yeah? I thought it was a perfect 10 out of 10. Oh my god, thank you! Thank you so much! Silly Electric. He's a nice fellow, he really is. But it's like the Hulk going up against SpongeBob SquarePants. He is going to get destroyed. Going over to another angle of the infamous love triangle, we have the douchey ex-boyfriend. Duot started off the game as the charming, lovable Brit. But over time, his true colors came out, revealing him to be a prick and to be downright abusive. But when it was time for Duot to say cheerio, we learned that there was a big reason for his behavior. What about you? Oh, well, I come from the wonderful country of England. Ooh, I've always wanted to go to England. It's nothing too special, but I think you'd really enjoy it. I have to go there sometime. By the way, I love your accent. Why, thank you. Now, let's talk about Duot. If Manectric was meant to be the Jim in that scenario, Duot was meant to be the Roy. He was meant to be the other man in the love triangle that everyone would root against. But that wasn't always what Duot's character was supposed to be. As an Oshawott, he was featured in both of my previous attempts at TBIs, and he was very different than what you see now. That Oshawott was the nicest guy you would ever meet. And his voice... oh god, his voice. I don't know why I thought this was a good idea or why I thought it would be funny, but if you watch Battle for Dream Island, you're probably familiar with the way Bubble talks. That's the voice I tried to replicate for Oshawott. Hi everyone, I'm Oshawott. I'm really excited. Oh my god, it was the cringiest shit I've ever done. But eventually, in my second run, I realized how terrible this voice was. But it was when I still had a lot of episodes to go before Oshawott was supposed to evolve, so I tried to give him as few lines as possible. And then eventually, when he did evolve, I'm like, okay, I don't want him to sound like everybody else, so I'm just like, what the hell? Let's just make him British for some reason. Even though he wasn't from England, and it made no sense for him to have a British accent, I just gave one to him anyway. It made no sense, but I thought the voice was a million times better than the one I did before. So when I brought Oshawott back for Abandoned, I just cut all the bullshit with that other stupid voice and just made him British from the get-go. And I never looked back. But while the voice may have taken a drastic change, one thing that never changed was the fact that he was always attracted to Flaffy, or Mareep. In both of my previous attempts, Oshawott and Mareep were a showmance. First one didn't really develop much, since they were both add-ons, and I canceled the show like 2 episodes later. And in my second attempt, they were the couple, again, that got together right from the start, and then that was about it. They just stayed together the whole time. Just kind of the big power couple that dominated throughout the show. And then I thought when I brought them back this time, because I knew I wanted to bring the relationship back, but I said I wanted to add some excitement, so I made it the love triangle, and as I already explained with Manectric, you guys already know how that whole mess went about. But for a long time, I wasn't sure who I wanted Flaffy to end up with, if I wanted her to end up with Manectric or Duot. And I went back and forth, and then eventually I had the idea to make Duot, instead of being the charming, cute guy everyone loved, he would start off as that, but then slowly turn into a toxic version of Alejandro. The guy that everyone loved, but turned out to be a complete monster when it came to a relationship. I wanted to take characters that I was so used to using and just completely turn them into something different. And that's what I tried to do with Duot. And the reason why I ended up... Okay, well, let me explain this. From a personal level, in terms of morality, I like Manectric and Flaffy a hell of a lot more than Duot, but from a character standpoint, I think Duot wins that battle. Because unlike Manectric, I actually gave him aspects of a personality outside of Flaffy. He slowly started to care more about the game. We saw that he was a very sneaky player, and who tended to get paranoid and made a shit ton of deals with a bunch of other players. And that ultimately had some people rooting for him, even despite all the shit he was doing to Flaffy. But the reason people were rooting for him was because, and somebody else pointed this out, I saw a video of someone explaining this, Duot hated Manectric and Flaffy. A lot of other people hated Manectric and Flaffy. And the fact that Duot was constantly, or at the end at least, when Manectric was about to get sent home, the fact that Duot was constantly trash-talking them meant that people liked him, and they liked seeing someone trash-talk these two characters that weren't really popular. And that explains how Duot ended up getting a surprising number of fans. Like, the whole time people were like, I'm on Team Duot. I'm like, why? He's an asshole! And then, of course, as time went on, I realized, okay, this actually makes a little more sense. But Duot, all in all, was the most well-developed character in one of the least developed storylines. And despite a couple kinks here and there, I think I did a pretty good job with him.
You have a point. I know you do. I want to make sure that
I'm not making the wrong decision. Just trust your intuition, Fluffy. I think everything should be okay.
Well, it's good to know that you guys think everything is okay. Oh no. Oh crap. Run! What the? Ugh. Alright, note to self. Stop talking. When you see them, shoot. Just do that.
Oh no. He's gaining. I don't know if I can outrun him, Duot. I'm so sorry. Ow! Ow! Oh! Damn it! Duot!
Looks to me like there's trouble in paradise. Now, let's talk about his elimination. As I mentioned when talking about Haunter, originally, Duot was supposed to be eliminated in episode 24 as the victim of a fake idol play. He was going to make all the deals with the villains would have turned on him, and Duot would have just been sent home unceremoniously. And again, that changed when I moved Haunter into Duot's place. So Duot got bumped up by 1 episode, because I knew I didn't want to take him any farther. His story was done, and I needed to find a meaningful way to get rid of him. And I didn't want it to just be a very boring elimination, I think we can all agree his elimination was pretty obvious, but I didn't want it to come across that way. And I also didn't want Duot's story to end on the note that it was supposed to end on, because I had bigger plans for Duot for Season 2. And a lot of that has to do with the story he told to Hitmonlee, Magmar, and Grovyle right before he was sent home. Right before the elimination, Duot explained that the reason he was so paranoid about losing Flaffy was that he had already lost someone in a relationship for seemingly no reason other than the fact that she just thought that they weren't right for each other. Duot felt that he was doing everything he was supposed to do in the relationship, and yet it still wasn't enough. So when things started to fall apart around him, he tried his best to fix it and to make sure he didn't make the same mistakes, and in doing so, he just made everything worse. And what's more, he hadn't fully moved on from that relationship, so his feelings towards Flaffy were fragmented. And I wrote that as a way to give a little more, as like a last-ditch effort to give Manectric some sympathy and to not make him seem like the bad guy in this for home-wrecking Flaffy and Duot's relationship, which he didn't really do. It was more Flaffy going towards him right after she dumped Duot. It was a last-ditch effort to salvage Flaffy and Manectric, and I wrote it so that Duot's storyline would feel complete, and that his actions would be explained. While it was absolutely wrong for him to do a lot of the things he did, at least there would be a reason, and at least it would kind of have people sympathize with him a little. Here's the big thing with Duot and that relationship, because I was going to incorporate that relationship into Season 2. Duot's ex was going to be a contestant, and Duot would have had to deal with these conflicting feelings. Here's the big twist, and I've kept this pretty close to myself for a while. I did, Emerald Star, he does know about this, because I confirmed this to him maybe a year and a half ago. But Duot's ex was not supposed to be female. Duot's ex was a guy. And that would have been the big reveal for Season 2. Duot is bisexual. And I say is because in my mind, I will officially confirm right now, it is canon, Duot is bisexual. And his ex was going to be a Dartrix, who also would have had a British accent, and who would have been a big villain for Season 2, would have just been a giant jerk, and would have made it maybe a little past the halfway mark. He kind of would have been like Fletchender, would have been the big villain for the bulk of the season, but then get eliminated right before the merge. But it wouldn't have been revealed that Dartrix was an ex of Duot right away. It would have just been explained that they were old friends, and it wouldn't be until a few episodes later that it's revealed that Dartrix and Duot had a romantic history. And Duot starts to get some of those feelings back, but he's fighting them, and he's dealing with a lot of inner turmoil. And it's something he's keeping to himself, and eventually he decides to tell someone about it. And the first person he tells, believe it or not, Manectric. This would have set up a big redemption arc for Manectric and Duot's relationship, and they would have ended season 2 as really good friends. But what I had planned was for Manectric to start to notice that something's up with Duot and be like, dude, what the hell is wrong with you? And Duot would have just broken down and confided in Manectric everything that was going on. He was just so panicked about everything that he didn't care who he told his feelings to. He just needed to get them off his chest. And that would have strengthened the bond between Manectric and Duot, especially since they weren't fighting over Flaffy anymore. And another element, just to clarify things, Duot would not have gotten back together with his ex, but they would have been involved in, you guessed it, another fucking love triangle. Yes, I had 3 planned. I don't want to talk about it. But Duot would not have ended up with Dartrix. Duot would have instead entered into a relationship with Panseer. That's right. Duot and Panseer were meant to be a major couple in season 2. Right before Panseer was getting sent home, in a few episodes prior, I had even sprinkled in hints that granted, Panseer had crushes on a lot of the guys on Abandoned, but he was mentioning Oshawott more than any other. And even in his final words, he even said, Oshawott, or Duot, call me if you and Flaffy don't work out. I was setting the stage for something that ultimately never came to be. So that was the origin for Duot's, really why he was the way he was on Abandoned. And I didn't want him to just leave as this jerk. Since I wasn't doing season 2, I wanted to at least explain his actions. So I incorporated the story and I incorporated the story at the last minute. Like, maybe the episode prior, I decided to put it into the script. And in the episode, Duot does mention that his ex was a girl. And the reason I had him say that and not go with the original idea was because I thought it would feel kind of out of place for him to suddenly come out as bisexual in a moment where it didn't feel appropriate for him to do so. So I thought the easier thing to do was to just have him say it was a girl and to just go on with the story. Although, I am planning on doing a reunion episode later on, once the season's over, and, just kind of as a chance for the contestants to say what they've been up to in the past year since the show ended. And it's possible I might have Duot explain that he had covered up the fact that it was a guy to just hide his sexuality. I'm not sure yet. I still gotta figure that out. That's still way down the line. But, ultimately, that's what I decided to do with ending Duot's story, and I wanted that to be like a last-minute moment where I would have the fans think, are they gonna save Duot? But ultimately, have that not happen. And I really think, had I gone on with Season 2, that storyline would have been huge. I wish I could have incorporated it a little better into the show since Season 2 isn't happening, but I'm at least glad I got to explain this storyline to you guys, and who knows? This idea could give other TPI creators who are watching this more ideas for their shows later on. You never know. Lucario, you took a big risk tonight. I can now tell you that your decision to keep your idol was a smart one. You are safe. Yes! Oh, Arceus, yes! Duot. Bishop. I feel like you saw this coming. From a mile away. I knew that was the risk of Lucario playing the idol tonight. And even though he didn't play it, those 3 needed to be prepared. I knew my time was up. We're sorry, Duot. It was a really tough call. I get it, guys. You did what you had to do. I was obviously hoping for a different result, but like I said before, I don't hold any hard feelings. We'll get him gone next time for you. Don't worry. please give my regards to the girls, and tell Flaffy that I look forward to speaking with her again to patch things up. We'll tell her. You just get out of here, clear your head, and we'll see you once all this is over. I'd like that. Well, Duot, you've played an incredible game filled with deception, confrontation, and a shit ton of lucky breaks. But tonight, that game has finally come to an end. With 4 votes cast against you, you have officially been eliminated from Abandoned. Please say your goodbyes and head on out. Best of luck, and please kick his ass for me. Will do, man. Bye. Later, man. We'll see about that. As for Duot's favorite moment, I'll just keep it simple. I thought his confession of his ex was my personal favorite moment. I thought that made Duot seem very endearing and very sympathetic, even despite the actions he had made prior. And again, it was my way of bringing forward an untapped idea into Abandoned in some way, shape, or form. Well, excuse us if we don't go accepting you right away, Duot, because you've made a lot of apologies this whole game, and those ones haven't exactly been sincere. I know. I've made a lot of mistakes here. Too many to count, and I don't think I've been acting like myself. But there's a reason for that. Something I thought I had put behind me. What do you mean? I've always been a fan of romance, and I was always so excited to one day find the love of my life. And at one point, I thought I had found that person. We know, Flaffy. We know everything that's... No. Not her. This was somebody else. Someone from back home. We had been friends for a long time, ever since we were little. And when we started high school, we both started feeling that there was something more to our friendship. We told each other about these feelings, and we ended up becoming a couple. Our relationship only grew stronger with time, and the longer we were together, the more these feelings blossomed. We were still rather young, but I really thought that this could be it. Until it wasn't. What happened? It wasn't anything I did or that they did. They just woke up one morning and said that they wanted something different. And that I didn't make them happy anymore. I was blindsided. The person I genuinely thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with had shattered my heart to pieces. Damn. I'm sorry. And with that, Left Behind Episode 4 is complete. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope that this was able to provide you some insight on these characters. And guys, we're in the end game right now. There's only 6 players left, and there's only one more installment of Left Behind. The next time I do one of these, Abandoned will be over. It will be done, finished, complete, everything. I will talk about the final 8 contestants. I mean, you already know who I'm talking about, you just don't know how they end up finishing on Abandoned, other than Grovile and Quilava. But that's what you guys have to look forward to. There are only 5 more episodes of Abandoned after this. I cannot wait for you guys to see them. This next episode, episode 29, I would easily place this in my top 5 favorite episodes. It's gonna be a big one. You do not want to miss it. But that's all for now, guys. This is Jake signing out. I'll see you next time.